Politics. As I've stated before, that's not something I'm very good at. And for me personally, the reason I'm not very good at it is because there's a lot of dishonesty in much of the politics. Don't get me wrong, politics are important with regards to a democratic society, and I emphasize that, i.e. the people actually have some choices. They can actually voice their opinions without being beaten or put in jail. However, when you're talking about the Mekong region, you're talking about some countries that this is definitely not allowed. And one in particular is the country of Laos. And with regards to the Mekong River and all of the projects and the tributary dams that are going into the Mekong River, there is a tremendous amount of secrecy, if you will, or I guess a better way of putting it is lack of transparency. And I've used that term a lot. Because without transparency, a lot of, let's just say, backroom things happen. In particular with Laos, it's amazing to me as to the number, as I've already stated, the number of tributary dams that they've built. And they've done this under the Article 4 of the MRC, Mekong Region Commission, River Commission, guidelines, and there again, they're guidelines, where it says that a project that was within a country's sovereign borders, they pretty much can do what they want. They were supposed to, and are still supposed to, notify any other countries where these transboundary issues, and a transboundary issue is quite simply if they build a dam and the water that's backed up into that impoundment area also affects another country's border within the river, these issues are supposed to be looked at and dealt with. Well, let's just say that that's not very transparent with what they've been doing. So anyhow, that's some of the politics, but then we get into the politics we're going to be talking here in a little bit. We're going to be talking about electricity and the hydroelectric grid. And this is where things get, well, let's just say, I'd like to be able to say the water's getting muddy, but unfortunately the sediment's gone out of the water, so the water doesn't look muddy anymore. It is the blue water syndrome. But nonetheless, we're going to be touching on some of the major issues that are going on there. And who owns electricity? Where is the electricity going? And who's pocketing the money from this electricity? And at the same time, what's happening to the electrical consumers, the people that have to pay their electric bills every month? You would think that with all of these dams, electricity would be cheap. But that's not the case. Politics as usual, especially politics without transparency, electrical rates have gone way up. So with that, we'll move right into some of these other areas, but I just wanted to touch briefly on politics. There again, I don't like politics. Welcome to the Golden Triangle. Across the river here, what you're looking at is basically China, even though it's supposed to be Laos. Everything you're seeing over there belongs to China. Those massive casinos, as well as these buildings over here to the right that are under construction, they weren't there 2 years ago, or even a year and a half ago for that matter. So we're going to dive into the politics a little bit of the Mekong River. let's talk just briefly or a little bit about Laos debt. Reported last year, or it was within the research I did last year, that Laos has such a tremendous debt with China that basically what they did for part of it, as I understood it, as I read it, was that China got to take over Laos' electrical grid. That's a pretty massive thing to give away, control of your electrical grid for the entire country. But then Laos has gotten himself in such a position, and there again has to do with politics, has to do with a lot of greed, and I do mean a lot of greed. There's a lot of backroom deals, if you will, and it's not just Laos, it's all over the world. But nonetheless, Laos got some serious issues with debt. And that's fairly obvious across the river here, where China has pretty much taken control of the Golden Triangle, as well as the tourism for their Chinese people, that come here. So it's a real toss-up. We're creating electricity in Laos, destroying the environment, tearing up the forest, evicting people from their land, all on the basis of some false principle of less of a carbon footprint. Well, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out that that's not true. Especially with the amount of sun that they get here, solar would be a much better option with a lot less destruction. But when you're in Laos and you're traveling through Laos, it's absolutely disgusting the amount of land that has been torn up, for lack of a better way of putting it, raped. The resources have been raped from the normal people of Laos. And that's just not Laos. It happens all over the world. But since we're talking about hydroelectricity, and Laos supposedly calls himself the battery of Southeast Asia, that's what we're dealing with. And it's a tough issue, especially for those that have not been taken or brought out of poverty as they are so-called were promised would happen. Same all over the world. Those who have the gold, they rule. Let's talk about lawsuits, all right? And in particular, we're going to be talking about a lawsuit that was filed by 30-some villages along with Rivers International against the government of Thailand. And that was predominantly based on the concept that anytime that one of these dams are going to be developed, part of the pre-assessment is that they have to have what's called a pre-purchase agreement, i.e. somebody's going to buy the electricity that this dam is going to make, otherwise there's no justification to build a dam. Well, enter a very large dam, the largest dam currently on the lower Mekong region, and that is Exbury Dam. And that's a massive dam. And what has affected the people downstream as well as upstream is pretty incredible. But dealing solely with the electrical issue, part of the process is that if you sign this power purchase agreement, it has to be transparent. There's that word again, transparent, according to the Constitution of Thailand. Well, it wasn't. It was slipped through during a particular time period where no one was paying attention to it because they were dissolving their parliament because it was election time. Nonetheless, it went through, and it went through against the Constitution of Thailand. So these people downriver, as well as International Rivers, brought a class action lawsuit against Thailand. Now, I believe that was 2018 when it was originated. In 2022, all the way up to the Supreme Court, The Supreme Court sided with the government of Thailand. That's hard to imagine, huh? But anyhow, so they lost the case because of a technical loophole, if you will, as to how the lawsuit was being interpreted. Excuse me. But nonetheless, they lost the lawsuit. So where does that leave anybody else when it comes to making sure that these governments, before they sign a power purchase agreement, that things are legal and they're put in proper order? That's another big question with regards to what's happening with the electricity on the Mekong River and where it's going. So with that, we're going to actually move into electricity. We're going to move into the subject what I call hydropower greed. And there's a lot of it, because you cannot produce the amount of electricity that they're producing because the country doesn't need it. And we're going to talk about that as well. We're going to talk about the fact that Thailand has way more electricity than what they need. What are they doing with it? And where is it going? And how does all of this help Laos to build more dams and more dams? So we'll move into electricity from this point. Hope you enjoyed, and thanks for following along on part 4. What is a PPA with regards to hydroelectric dams? PPA is quite simply Purchase Power Agreement. And as previously stated, that is an agreement that has to be signed in the preparatory phases of designing a dam. In other words, it's a justification to be able to build this hydroelectric dam. So with that enters Thailand again. Understanding that the Exactbury Dam, they're again the largest dam currently on the lower Mekong region, they help finance that dam about halfway through. There again, the people of Thailand didn't want this done because Thailand already had more electricity than they needed, a lot more, and I'm going to read the amount here in a little bit. But nonetheless, Thailand went ahead with this by having 6 different Thai banks finance the rest of this dam. Whether that's legal or not, I don't know. But nonetheless, rather than the government being involved, the 6 Thai banks went ahead and supported finishing this dam. And in turn, Thailand gets 95% of the electricity from that dam, and this is a big dam. And Laos gets the other 5%. Well, gotta wonder what's going on there. They only get 5% and Thailand gets 95%, but nonetheless, those are the facts. Thailand gets 95% of the electricity. So, and under this power purchase agreement, there is a clause within this agreement that says take or pay. What does that mean? That means that if you have more electricity than what you need, you still have to take that electricity that was agreed upon in the power purchase agreement. And understand that these agreements usually run from 25 to 35 years, which also happens to be the approximate lifespan of some of these hydroelectric projects. But nonetheless, so let's talk about what happens with the take or pay, in particular with this particular dam in Thailand. They have way more electricity than what they need. So how does that affect the electricity or the electrical rates for the consumers, in particular Thailand? So let's talk about that. I'm going to just read this part, so please bear with me. Put simply, developers and operators, let me add to this that they also signed purchase power agreements for the Paklay Dam, the Lumphrabong Dam, and one other dam. So that's another 3 dams, all right? And some of which are still under construction. Anyhow, put Put simply, developers and operators of Paklay and Lumpfabang dams will benefit from a steady stream of revenue for the term of PPAs 29 to 35 years respectively. So there you go. So you're locked into this agreement. So back to Thailand again, they don't need the electricity. So what are they doing with it? Where's it going? My understanding is that some of this electricity is going all the way to Singapore, going to Malaysia, Indonesia. Of course, therein lies the question, where's the infrastructure to be able to do this? But they apparently got that figured out. But nonetheless, there's a whole lot of money being made on this. But back to the consumer, the average electrical consumer, their rates have skyrocketed. And how is this happening when you have excess electricity? Well, they're doing it through, the government decided that, well, we can't lose money with this take or pay agreement. So how are we going to make up for that? So they came up with an FT charge, and an FT charge stands for fuel tariff charge, thereby raising the price of, legally, supposedly, raising the price of this electricity to the consumer. So, needless to say, the consumers are not happy about this, but there again, what can they do about it? All right? Just to give you a percentage of how much that electricity has increased, 18%. That's a lot. And a lot of it is due to the power purchase agreement that's signed in conjunction with the clause take or pay. So that clause is being looked at, but it certainly hasn't been changed. But just some idea as to what's happening with the electrical rates regarding these hydroelectric dams. Now, another interesting point is, and this one's almost hysterical, is that all of this destruction, all of this environmental rape that's taking place in Laos, and believe me, it's a lot of it, all right, is also being financed by Thailand through, mainly they're purchasing all the power, but then Laos has to buy electricity back from Thailand for their electrical needs. What? How does that make any sense? But I will show you in one of the sequences the hydroelectric lines that come back out of Chiang Khong back into Thailand. And that being explained to me by a gentleman who is also known as the hero of the Mekong, Krung Thi, and very knowledgeable, and they know what's going on. They've been studying this for 26 years. So anyhow, another little add-on, if you will, as to all of the stuff that's going on with electricity that most people don't even know about, all right? But there's a whole lot of money being made. Is it transparent? I don't think so. So with that, part 4, we're going to dive into electricity even more. So hope you stay with me, folks. Thank you. Well, I said I would give you the amount of excess electricity, if you will, in Thailand. So I'm just going to read these figures so that, and this is according to the Thailand's energy website. Total installed capacity in 2022 was approximately 49,150 megawatts. And then they showed a demand of 32,250 megawatts for that particular time period, which gives a reserve of 16,900 megawatts reserve, which equates to a 34%, all right, in reserve, while the international norm is 15%. So 16,900 megawatt reserve is more than 7 times the installed capacity of the Lumpfabang and the Paklay Dam. That's the reserve, is more than what these 2 dams produce. So this is just another little tidbit of information with the amount of energy that Thailand has or is getting from their power purchase agreements.
the oversupply.
Oversupply.
Yes, oversupply, and the people they pay more more money for the electricity by household.
So the people of Thailand, and we're just going to isolate Thailand in this. Thailand's buying all of this electricity, which is overproduced as far as what Thailand needs. But yet the Thai people are actually paying more for that electricity than what they did before the dams. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this our network, our movement talk about this and have a letter and complain them about the purchase electricity to example in Park Bank Dam. We send letter to know about the agreement, and they says this is the secret of the company.
The secrets of the company. Yeah. I saw some of that secrets of the company. What they called it is they said it's proprietary, which secret.
Secret.
We have electricity being produced. The original concept, as you explained, was it's going to be carbon neutral. It's going to help the environment. Less pollution because of, you're not using coal or some of those other things, but that's not true. I mean, the cost environmentally of just building one of these dams and the destruction and the pollution that it does to the ecosystem there. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I know.
คือที่ผ่านมาระบบไฟต่างๆมันตรงส่วนแต่มันก็ทำลายเยอะอยากให้พูดถึงเรื่องแดน
I think so. When we talk about electricity, hydro power, I thought okay, it's 100 years ago. Okay, I am okay about that dam like this. 100 years ago, but now for electric not same long time. Have a new technology, have innovation, new innovation about power, about energy, not just for build dam.
Right.
You can select about solar cell, everything can do now, but they try for building dam because money, just money. I not call electric, no, electric we have, no, just money. Money.
Yeah, this why you pay the money for watching the destroy ecology and destroy your money too. This is the situation now between Thai electric and in Laos too.
And you talk about how why the Lao people who are buy electric is expensive, huh?
Yeah.
Because money. Expensive money.
The first electric
make
back
money
to
more.
Laos from Singapore, to Laos, not from Laos to here.
It's back to Laos.
Yeah, back to Laos.
You know?
You can see that.
And here back to Laos, huh?
Back to Laos.
This province, huh?
This province.
And have one dam, small dam, more dam in Nam Tha River. It's tributary in Laos, not far from here.
Have two dams.
It's a border, not long, far from border Thai border and Laos.
Border.
And now they build already, and they send electric not for the people, not for the province, the town. They cross to the
Make a grid to
King Roman.
To special economic zone.
China.
The
China.
special economic zone.
China, Chiang Saen, opposite King Roman.
So this is there, which I will show in a sequence, but those big power lines right over there with the balls, on the power lines.
Yeah, right. From Thailand to Laos.
That's electricity is going from Thailand
Yeah.
to Laos.
back to Laos.